Shalom and good day all, and welcome to Manga I have recently read through, and this is some stuff that I've read through between um, December of last year into January and finally into February 2025. And as you can see here, these are some of my slightly bigger size manga, including a little bit of manhwa in here as well. So let's have a look at the titles of what I've been reading through. So starting off with what we see at the back here, and it's called The Blue Wolves of Mabu. Apparently this series is available to watch on Crunchyroll, but you know what? Stupid Crunchyroll have not released it to be played in the region of Australia, as I'd really actually like to watch this series. It follows the character of Neo, who's someone who's brought into the Blue Wolves, and we learn that these are sort of like samurai. And the character reminds me a lot like the character of Yahiko in Rurouni Kenshin. So I think if you have read Rurouni Kenshin, it feels like it's that story, but if it was done in Yahiko's point of view instead of Kenshin's point of view, even though in this the character's name is called Neo, spelled Nio, and in it we get to meet some of the characters that this character meets, and also their ups and downs as to sort of like whether they feel confident enough that they trust them, or if these characters have earned their trust. Next is Blue Lock, episode Nagi, which was really quite interesting to read through. If anything, it's a bit of a late prequel in relation to the Blue Lock series, and it also makes me wonder if when the Blue Lock series comes towards an end, it's going to be between Koichi and also Nagi as to who will get the top spot. Next we have March Comes In Like a Lion, and I must admit what I've read of this manga so far definitely has me want to check out the anime. I am going to have to catch up with the first season of the anime of Blue Lock. But moving into that, you actually learn that this is a story that focuses on someone who is involved in board games, the board game being shogi, and you also learn what how the lion actually connects to the game. You of course meet the main character and also some of the friends that he makes along the way, including some old friends. I'm looking forward to reading more of the manga. Next is Terrorman, and I must admit, Terrorman is actually quite an interesting story. Yes, it is a manhwa, so a Korean webtoon comic, and I must admit, the first volume was actually a really good volume because it centered on the main character, and you see that this character has sort of like a form of intuition that informs him of terrorist attacks. Of course, as the story moves a little bit later in these next two volumes, so 2 and 3, which are there, you learn that he's actually starting to make some connections to like other people who want to stop these forms of terrorist attacks happening in Korea, and I'm really quite liking it so far. So I hope things get really good when it starts to move into volumes 4 and 5, and that also the action starts to pick up a bit more too. Next is Tokyo Babylon. Yes, it's a bit of an older series, but it's actually been really nice to read through it. Of course, we have Battle Royale Enforcers. I think I've got the second volume aside, but it's not been brought out to be read yet. Next, we have the manga edition of Miyamoto Musashi's Book of the Five Rings, which was actually, as short as it is, it's still a really decent story. Blood on the Tracks, it's finally nice to get around to completing this series. Alright, and the next series after Blood on the Tracks by Shuzo Ishimi is Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead. This follows the main character of Akira, along with friends he makes along the ways, plus friends he catches up with including family members. Definitely check out the anime. I did actually enjoy the anime, and it was through the anime as well as the live action that did finally give me the decision to pick up this series. So reading through all of these volumes, so I've got all the way up to volume 16. I've also learned that the same person who works on this also works in the series Alice in Borderland. Now, whether I choose to pick that up or not, or if you have actually read it yourself, the Alice in Borderland, I'd love to hear your comments about it. And is it actually worth picking up? Should I think about investing into that series? Next, we have Peach Momoko's Demon Wars, which links to Marvel Comics. We have the DC's webtoon of the Red Hood Outlaws, which is still really quite good, but they still need to fix up things in relation to the chapters. That's the only downside of this Red Hood Outlaws, where when you go to the Wayne Family Adventures, you get to see the chapters, each chapter by chapter, and what it's about. When you move to it in here, it just really... It's a great way to kill the series. It's the only other way to put it. Without the chapters and the titles and whatever. Though they had no problem doing it with Wayne Family Adventures, but they can't do it with Red Hood Outlaws. What about the other stories? The one on Zatanna and Vixen. And last but not least, a series called I Think Our Son Is Gay. I'll say one thing. This is a really good series. Worth picking up. Why? Because it doesn't scold you if you don't actually like this personal community. And people wonder why Manga, Manhwa, and Manhua is succeeding in this storytelling so well compared to the Western. How about you get some bloody life lessons from what Manga's doing instead of freaking scolding your audience, because you're going to get nowhere and you're going to lose lots of bloody money. Alright, now it's time to move on to the next thing, and that is the rating of each of these manga manhwa series. So starting off with Blue Wolves of Mabu, following the character of Neo, I definitely give a 7.5 out of 10. That's for the first volume, and as we start to move into volumes 2 and 3, an 8 out of 10. Moving to Blue Lock Volume 1, Episode Nagi, a 7.5 out of 10, as I really enjoyed learning more about the character of Nagi, apart from what we've already learned from him from the main Blue Lock run. Moving into the main Blue Lock manga series, as it's starting to move into the area of a bit of a tournament of sorts. So the Blue Lock versus people in a certain soccer tournament, and they're there to prove their worth on the scene. By what I have heard of the second season of the anime, it ain't so great, but where it might not be ain't so great, the manga is actually pretty good in what it delivers. And in that, I am going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. March Comes in Like a Lion, a little bit of a somewhat slice of life / board game. A 7.5 out of 10, that's for all volumes that are there. Moving into Terror Man, I've actually quite liked what I've read of this so far. For this, a 7.5 out of 10. Tokyo Babylon, as old as this series is, a 7 out of 10. But I am looking forward to to reading the last couple of volumes because there are 5 volumes to the Tokyo Babylon series. But the Battle Royale Enforcers Volume 1, I think it deserves a 7 out of 10, but that might pick up after the next volume. The Miyamoto Musashi Book of the Five Rings, a 7.5 out of 10. Blood on the Tracks, its ending was a little bit not how I expected it to end, but it also gave you some time to reflect a bit as well what happened from volume 1 to where we get to see the character at the end. And for that, I give it... I think I might just give it a 6.5 out of 10 because I was expecting a slightly better ending. Next is the Zom 100, and I think this rating will just cover the whole series of what I've read through so far. So from volumes 1 to 9, a 7.5 out of 10. From 10 to 16, also a 7.5 out of 10. Peach Momoko, Demon Saga, Demon Wars, a 7.5 out of 10, but it is its own Marvel Elseworld type of story. Next is the Red Hood Outlaws. As much as the fun is in it, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. I think it could certainly improve in a lot of areas. And last but not least, the I Think Our Son Is Gay manga series, a 7.5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.